Hi, Genies. It's Fisher. Before we get started, just a quick thank you for getting Extreme Genes to where it is today. We're on radio stations all over America, and our podcast is growing exponentially. I'm often asked, what can I do to support Extreme Genes? Well, that's easy. Become a part of our Extreme Genes Facebook community and like our page. Share the podcast with your friends. Follow us on Twitter. And most importantly, support our sponsors through links on our website. They're the best in the business. Thanks again. Now let's get on to this week's podcast.
Are you digging up the dirt on your dead? Want to find out how? Hear the latest on new family history sources and websites with interesting and fun guests and experts. Find out what other people have been learning about their ancestors. From kings to thieves, inventors to farmers, nothing that's been discovered should surprise us anymore, but it always does. Find out what we mean. Great family history stories and information are on the way now with Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, and extremegenes.com.
Yeah, I don't think Mother knew about this.
Uncle Marvin was strangled by his own beard.
Yeah, you never saw it coming.
Hello, you. Welcome to America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and extremegenes.com. I am Fisher, your radio root sleuth, on the program where we shake your family tree and watch the nuts fall out. Great guest today. Kate Eakman is here with LegacyTree.com. She's going to be talking about a very special record that has been left by many of your more recent ancestors. Did you know that they actually wrote down when they were born, where they were born, the name of the parents, including the maiden name of the mother? Yes, and you can actually obtain that record through the government. She'll tell you about it and some of the tricks and rules involved coming up in about 8 or 9 minutes. Then later in the show, Larry Gelwicks, the getaway guru from Columbus Travel, is going to be here talking about our Extreme Genes cruise that's scheduled for September 13th out of Boston, going up to Nova Scotia. And it's going to be a great family history cruise, fall foliage too. So you're going to want to hear all the details on that and plan to join us in September. I'm very excited to let you know, by the way, that our shows are now being transcribed. So if you hear something on the air or you hear something on the podcast, and if you want to find where that was in the show, you can just search the transcription that's posted along with the podcast. So it's a great help as you follow along with us at home on Extreme Genes. And right now it's time to check in with my good friend, the chief genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society and AmericanAncestors.org. David Allen Lambert is here from Boston. Hi, David. How are you?
Greetings from Beantown, Fish. How are you doing? I'm just great.
Awesome. We got a lot of good news and bad news in our Family Histoire news today.
We definitely do. Going across the pond to Edinburgh, Scotland, the National Records Office at New Register House in Edinburgh has a computer virus which has shut down the whole system. So you could go into Edinburgh, pay a fee, and actually look up your ancestors. Not the case right now.
Wow, that is really sad. And you know, that's happening in a lot of places, this ransomware. It actually happened at the radio station I'm headquartered at about a month or so ago. So it's very prevalent.
You know, it's nice to know that scotlandspeople.org, which is the main website that people access from home, isn't affected, so people shouldn't be worried about their accounts. So I want to toss that out there, just the in-house access. So if you're planning a trip to Scotland anytime soon, call ahead. You know, there's a really interesting story. It was in the England Daily Mail. The story goes basically 6 in 10 people who have lost a partner will continue to hear them or sense them in some way. And then, you know, and I think that's true with a lot of sense. You have a family member that's gone, and some people are still seeing them and hearing them, but it's not really reported so much. In fact, one of the stories talks about a grandmother mentioning that their granddaughter, who was very, very small, ran into the kitchen and said, come in here, Grandpa's in the other room. And he wasn't there, at least to their eyes.
Wow.
And I mean, Fish, have you had this happen to you and, you know, with lost loved ones at all?
No, my wife is very sensitive to that stuff, but not me.
I can't speak for it the same, but I do share that my daughter was a little girl, probably about 3 or 4. We were driving and my daughter was looking, you know, to the seat beside her. And she says, I have a question for you, Mom and Dad. When are you having another baby? And I looked at each other and said, well, we don't know, hon, but sometime. And I said, why? And she goes, oh, well, Papa just said that he can't come back unless you do. My dad had died when my daughter was about 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, so young, why would she be making it up? And this is the only time she ever mentioned it, ever. Wow. So, and it's nice to know that somehow they can still reach out there to us. On a lighter note, well, actually a quite heavier note, have you ever heard of the Fat Men's Club of America?
I have not. Tell us about it.
Well, I'll tell you, weighing in with this wonderful story, back in 1903, there was a local tavern in Wells, Vermont, where this club was launched. And essentially, you needed to be a gentleman boasting over 200 pounds, pay a fee of $1, and you learned a secret handshake and a password. They had amazing events. The New England Fat Men's Club had over 10,000 members. They would have a Olympic-sized breakfast, essentially, where men would cram a huge breakfast into their stomachs, stumble outside, work up a sweat in a friendly Olympic-style competition showing strength by leapfrog contests, broad jumps, and races, and then come back and have a 9-course meal with oyster cocktails, shrimp, chicken soup, boiled snapper, filet beef, mushroom, roast chicken, roast suckling pig, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, any of the workout that they had obviously was counteracted by their large meal afterwards. But this was an organization that was very big at the early part of the 20th century. But by 1924, they only had 38 members show up, and none of them met the 200-pound mark. Now, I'm not sure if that means they were decided to diet, or maybe they cut back the meal portions. But what a funny group to actually find in your family tree. I've never seen one in an obituary, but I'm going to look for them now.
I've never heard of it. And the thing is, it makes you realize what a different world we live in today.
Exactly. I think they'd have to say the robust men's club,
yes.
The healthy men's club. Well, my tech tip goes back quite a ways, actually. It goes back to medieval and early modern England. As you know, next week I'll be reporting from Who Do You Think You Are in Birmingham, England, and I'll be over in England for a couple of weeks. But this tech tip is a free database from the University of Houston, Texas, and I'll provide the link so you can post it, which is aalt.law.uh.edu. What they have done, they have over 9 million frames of historic documents from the National Archives in London. They're basically going through 12th century court records all the way from the time of Richard I, Richard the Lionhearted, all the way to Queen Victoria. And they're putting them online for free.
Wow.
Yeah. NEHGS, as you know, always will offer a free guest user database. Just become a guest user at AmericanAncestors.org. And this week we are offering early Vermont settlers with 11 new sketches added to the already comprehensive collection that we're putting together for your Vermont ancestors in the 18th and early 19th century. Well, that's all I have. Next time I'll be talking to you will be across the pond. And talk to you soon, Fish.
All right. Great to talk to you, David. Thanks for coming on, and have a safe trip.
Thank you, sir.
And coming up next, we're going to talk to Kate Eakman with LegacyTree.com about a very special document your recent ancestors had to fill out, providing some very important information. That's in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
You know, everybody needs a place of their own to plant their family tree, preferably one that no one else can mess with and only you can control. That perfect place is Roots Magic. Roots Magic has been a family history standard for years, and now Roots Magic 7 is on the market. It's an award-winning genealogical software program which makes researching, organizing, and sharing your family history easy. You can start from scratch or import data from other software, or even Family Search. Roots Magic also automatically finds records relating to your ancestors from MyHeritage, Family Search, and soon Ancestry and Find My Past. You can use it to create beautiful charts, reports, and books. And have you ever thought about making your own family history website? Roots Magic can make that happen too. And of course, there are free videos, guides, and technical support to help you along. Isn't it about time you planted your family tree? Whether you're a beginning genie or experienced professional, Roots Magic is the perfect tool for you.
When someone asks, what is Forever.com, I tell them it's a new kind of digital storage, like for your photos and documents and all the family memories. And they always shoot back with, well, that's not a very new thing. There's Facebook, Shutterfly, Flickr. Then I say, oh, but on Forever, you own all your content. There's no third-party ads, and it's guaranteed for your lifetime, plus 100 years. Do the others do that? Okay, so like I said, Forever.com, a new kind of digital storage. You are the chief memory officer of your family. You get that frantic phone call about the reunion in 2 days and they need the slideshow, and you're ready because you use Forever.com. Photos, news clippings, heck, you automatically upload the photos on your cell phone every day. You have everything digitally stored and organized where you can share it privately with your friends and family. No ads, and it's permanent, guaranteed for generations. Yes, you are the chief memory officer, and you have Forever.com.
Well, Genies, my personal family history researcher who sends me new information day and night has sent me some incredible new records and newspaper stories lately. Hi, it's Fisher, and the name of that researcher, by the way, is myheritage.com. It's the hardest working service in genealogy, looking for records of your family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, even while you're sleeping. How does it work? MyHeritage uses hundreds of algorithms to match your ancestors to over 5 billion records from around the world, and with 97% accuracy. That means no more wasting time figuring out whether or not a match really is a match. I hear from listeners all the time who are shocked with how much information is accurately found and then passed along. And now MyHeritage will translate your ancestors' names into English or any other language you like from foreign records. In fact, it works with over 40 languages. No one else does this. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned researcher, you need myheritage.com. Hey, we are back. Extreme Genes, America's family history show at extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, with my guest today, Kate Eakman from Legacy Tree Genealogists. And Kate, it is great to have you on the show. You're in Oregon, and I love the tip you've come across here. Working with the government. That's always a challenge, isn't it?
It is. Sometimes the government, they have very specific rules that they tell you what they will and won't do, but they don't always follow their rules, and sometimes you have to find interesting ways to work around them.
Well, Legacy Tree Genealogists, of course, is a collection of great professionals such as yourself. And this is a great tip. And I've actually worked with the forms that we're going to talk about today, the SS5. And, of course, SS stands for Social Security. And this is the form that people have used to actually become part of the system, especially back in the day, right?
Correct. The SS5 is the form that everybody uses. Even you and I filled out one when we applied for a Social Security number.
I have no recollection of that.
Well, I don't either, but I'm going to assume that I did.
Yeah, right.
That form SS5 is really useful to genealogists because the person who is applying for a Social Security number is the person who's filling out the form and providing the information. So unlike a death certificate where you have grieving family members who are trying to remember who this person's parents were, this is a person in full health who is saying, this is what my name is, this is my date of birth, this is where I was born, this is my father's name, here is my mother's name, including her maiden name.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it?
It's a wonderful tool.
And one of the few like it that actually take place in the middle of life. Typically, we can see a birth certificate filled out by somebody else or a death certificate filled out by somebody else. And even the marriage certificates sometimes are filled out by other individuals with reports from the bride and the groom and perhaps other family members. But to actually be filled out in their own hand, asking this very important information, that's really what makes it unique.
It really is. As you said, it's the prime of a person's life. Not anymore. Now babies have it done at the hospital for them. But what we use, the ones that we ask for from the government, you can look at the person's handwriting. You can compare it to other documents. And as you said, it's not somebody else reporting it, it's that person. And usually where somebody might fudge something with a census record, how old they are, it seems as though when they're completing their SS5, they're being very honest. And so you find out what their birth date really was or who their parents really were.
That is interesting you mentioned that about the age. I mean, the ages just do vary so much, especially on census records and elsewhere. And people thinking they were born in one year, but they maybe were born in another. My own grandmother, her tombstone says she was born in 1880, but she was actually born in 1881. I wonder if she actually knew herself what year she was born.
You're right. And the reason for that is that it's only been relatively recently in time that our age has allowed us or not allowed us to do certain things.
Right.
So your specific day of birth or year of birth wasn't important. Just knowing you were about 25 years old was good enough. You didn't have to prove your age to get a driver's license or have a drink at a bar or get married.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've actually only ordered one SS5 form in my entire life in 30-some-odd years of researching, and that was for a woman who turned out to be a half-sister of my grandfather. And I suspected that she might be, but by the time I got to this, it was like, okay, she's got to tell me herself. I want to know. And I remember checking the mailbox on a regular basis because they don't email these things to you. They stick them in the mail, and you have to run out and wait for the postman to bring it to you. They're kind of pricey, as I recall. This was only about 8 or 9 years ago, and I want to say it was like $25 or something like that. Do you know what they are now?
Yes, the base fee is $29 if you don't know the person's Social Security number. If you do know the Social Security number, they give you a $2 discount, so you can get it for $27.
Yeah, somewhere in that area. And so when it came, it actually had her listing my great-grandfather as her father. And this was quite a breakthrough for us because we had no idea she had existed. So it was a good find.
And that's exactly why we want an SS5 for that very reason. So many times for women especially, we don't know anything about the woman because she's listed as somebody's wife the first time she comes into the family picture.
Right.
And we don't know who her parents were. And all through her life, she's always Aunt Susan, Uncle Fred's wife. And that's always how we know her. We never know who her parents were or what her maiden name was.
Now, some of these records, though, because of the timing of them, are redacted, right?
That's correct. The Social Security Administration has two very clear rules. One is they say they use what they call the 120-year rule, which means you have to be able to prove that the person has died if they're less than 120 years old. They don't assume that a person who's 100 years old is dead.
Right. Okay.
And so that's the first thing. So oftentimes you have to send along an obituary, which they'll accept that. They don't have to have a death certificate, but you have to send something to prove this person really is dead, and then they'll send you the document.
How about the Social Security death register?
That's what's really interesting is you can send a copy of that, but they don't necessarily check their own death registry for that information.
Okay. That's our government at work.
It's like I said, it's always so hit or miss about what gets done and what gets followed through on.
Right.
The other rule that they have, and these are all designed to protect people's privacy. If you think about a family member that you may know who has passed recently within the past 10 or 15 years, with identity theft on the rise, you can see where somebody who may have passed who's a relatively young person, their identity could be stolen and their name and address and Social Security number used by the bad guys. So that's what they're trying to prohibit or prevent, which I can appreciate, but it does make our job as genealogists very, very difficult sometimes.
Well, I love what you did, though, because you had this problem with this SS5 form. It came in, and the names, the very names you were looking for, were marked out.
That's correct. One of our clients knew who his grandmother's first name was, but he wasn't even certain of her maiden name, what the last name was. We knew who she married, of course, but we didn't know anything else about Grandma beyond her first name, really. So I requested her SS5, hoping to learn who her parents were. And after waiting 4 or 6 weeks, whatever the time period was, I got a very nice copy of her SS5 with 2 big black boxes over the names of her mother and father. and a very nice letter from the Social Security Administration telling me that because of their privacy rules, there was no evidence that her parents were not still living. I needed to prove they were dead in order to get an unredacted copy of her SS5.
But you don't even know who they are, so how do you prove it, right?
Exactly. And I was a little bit stymied for a few moments because I thought, just what you said, how can I prove these people are dead if I don't even know who they are?
That's what I'm trying to find out. Hello.
Exactly. But I started thinking a little bit, just trying to be really logical. What do I know? What are the facts? Well, I knew that Grandma was born in 1916. Common sense tells us if she was born in 1916, that her parents probably were born in 1900 or even earlier.
Right.
So my next question is, well, that's pretty old. I mean, we're in 2016 now, so those are people who would be 116 years old or older. And I wondered, how many people live in the United States who are at least 116 years old?
Good question.
So the answer to that is, of course, you do a Google search.
Yeah.
And you ask Google, how many people in the United States are over 116 years old? And I was directed to a Wikipedia article about supercentenarians, people who are more than 110 years old.
Yes.
But there is only one person in this country who would be 116 years old.
And he wasn't an Italian, right?
No, this was actually an African-American lady.
Okay, yes, in Brooklyn.
In Alabama.
Yeah, the one, she lives in Brooklyn, yes.
She lives in Brooklyn. And my client's grandmother was of Italian descent, and so chances are good that an African-American woman who was born in Alabama was not her mother.
Right.
So I printed all those articles off, wrote a very nice letter back to the Social Security Administration because, as my grandmother always taught me, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar.
Yes.
So this is just somebody who's trying to do their job, and they're trying to protect people's identities, so I'm not going to get cranky with them. And I just explained that I could not find any evidence of anybody who would be old enough to be her parents still alive. And that the reason I was asking for this record was to learn who her parents were on behalf of my client. And I sent it off with fingers crossed and then waited for the mail, as you said.
And it came back and
it came back with the black boxes removed, and I discovered the name of Grandma's parents.
Oh, I bet your clients loved you for that.
I think they were pretty excited because for years they knew nothing beyond Grandma's first name.
Right.
They thought they knew what her last name was, but even that was not quite correct. So the SS5 told us her correct maiden name and the name of her mother and her father, which allowed us then to trace her family back to her grandparents in Italy. So we went from a woman born in 1916 back to her grandparents who were born in the 1850s in Italy.
Unbelievable. That is great work. Now, where do people order these things?
You can order the SS5 from the Social Security Administration. There are two ways of doing it. You can order it online. I would just do a Google search for SS5.
Perfect. And then you can also mail away for it.
Fill out a form and mail it. And that's a good idea if you have somebody who's relatively recently passed away. And then that way you can send in copies of obituaries, death certificates, whatever you need to prove everything, and you don't have to waste the time sending things back and forth.
She's Kate Eakman from Legacy Tree Genealogist with an incredible research tip for breaking through brick walls, the SS5. Thanks so much, Kate. Good stuff.
Thank you for having me.
Find out more about Kate and the team at Legacy Tree at legacytree.com. And coming up next, we're talking about our family history cruise out of Boston this fall with Larry Gelwicks, the getaway guru, on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Hovorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks. Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chartmasters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartmasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chartmasters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style of genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chartmasters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chartmasters today at FamilyChartmasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chartmasters will give the greatest care to your family history.
And welcome back to America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. I am Fisher, your radio root sleuth, and so looking forward to this September as we're getting ready for our first ever Extreme Genes cruise. And it's going to be leaving out of Boston on Royal Caribbean, going up to Nova Scotia and seeing some of the places the Loyalists settled after the Revolution. And with me in studio right now is my good friend Larry Gelwicks, who is known to many around the country as the Getaway Guru.
Scott, nice to be here with you.
I'm excited about this. And your Columbus Travel, of course, is handling all the bookings for this incredible trip, and it's going to be so much fun. Tell us about it. Have you been on this one before?
Oh, yes. This is one of my favorite cruise areas. And as you mentioned, Columbus Travel in Bountiful, Utah, just outside of Salt Lake City, is handling all of the arrangements. You can see the details, even a brochure, not only on your website, but on ours,
right?
ColumbusVacations.com, ColumbusVacations.com. Now, Scott, you have put together an incredible package here for family history enthusiasts.
I think so. We've got David Allen Lambert, of course, who you heard earlier in the show. He's the chief genealogist.
It's like the godfather of... No, you are the godfather of family history.
No. I am the mayor of Family Historyville.
You're one
He's
of the wise
godfather.
guys.
Yeah. So David's going to be on the ship with us, and of course we're going to do lectures about Boston during the Revolution and in the colonial days. We're going to talk about the Loyalists who went up to Nova Scotia and settled some of the very places that we're going to see. And of course, we're only going to be talking on days where it's sea. If you want to get off at the ports, we want you to be able to do that. We want to do that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, the cruise itself departs from Boston, steeped in history, and so many Americans can trace their extreme genes, their genealogy, their family history back to the New England area, where so many immigrants came from Europe. And we have a visit to the New England Historic Genealogical Society with David Allen Lambert, as you mentioned.
Right.
But the cruise itself will depart the afternoon of Tuesday, September 13th, sailing from Boston. Now, catch this itinerary. We'll visit Bar Harbor, Maine.
Yes.
St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. Some relaxing day at sea, and then back to Boston. This is a 6-day, 5-night cruise. The cruise itself, September 13th to the 18th. But, and this is so incredible for your listeners, Scott, is that you have an optional involvement before the cruise.
That's right. People can go before they get there, or they could even stay after the cruise and walk the Freedom Trail. And if you get there a little bit early, actually on the 13th, we can arrange for a tour of the New England Historic Genealogical Society. It's the oldest in America, in fact, in North America. And there are so many things there that David, I'm sure, would love to show you.
Right. So it's my understanding that those who arrive early enough will be going with you and visiting with David Allen Lambert, who will also be on the cruise.
Right.
To the New England Historic Genealogical Society. Now, your listeners are family history enthusiasts.
That's it.
What are they going to see, experience, learn, and know at the New England Historic Genealogical Society?
Well, it's an incredible library. It's an incredible research facility, first of all. And you won't have a lot of time to spend there, but you can get an idea of what's available in terms of resources as you want to do a little research. You could spend an hour just researching right there among their facilities.
Right. Now, are they closed on Mondays?
They're closed on Mondays, right.
So our visit will be Tuesday morning.
Yeah, before the actual departure of the trip. So you'd have to get there Monday. We'll also do a walking tour of the Freedom Trail if you get there early, and we'll have a place to actually meet up.
Isn't that a wonderful experience?
Oh, it's incredible. I've done it before. I actually have some ancestors who were buried along the Freedom Trail, and you can see where Paul Revere is buried. You can actually visit his house from back in the time that he went about warning everybody that the British were coming.
Right. You know what's also exciting? This is fall foliage time. Now, it's always difficult to outguess Mother Nature.
Right. That's
because as I see fall foliage, sometimes we see it in early September. Sometimes it doesn't arrive till early October. But this particular cruise is nestled right in the middle. It's a wonderful time to experience New England, the eastern seaboard of Canada, and fall foliage. Now,
and as you go north, it gets a little cooler.
Exactly. Now, our first stop after leaving Boston is Bar Harbor, Maine. What's interesting about Bar Harbor is you get up into Maine. What do you think? Heavily wooded areas, which this is. But Bar Harbor is actually a community on an island. And the name of the island makes no sense given the topography.
Yeah, right.
It's Mount Desert Island.
Yeah.
I mean, what's up with that?
I don't know. I have no idea. Well, that's what we're going to find out about when we get there, right?
Well, all of these stops caught my attention as a foodie. I mean, if you love seafood, if you love just fine dining, not only do the ship, Royal Caribbean does a great job in the dining room, but the food in each port. Now, Bar Harbor's steeped in history. You've got Acadia National Park. It's a wonderful place to visit nature in horse-drawn carriages, ATVs, bicycles. All of these things make for an incredible visit. We then move on to St. John, New Brunswick. Now, these are where a lot of the Loyalists went after the Revolutionary War.
Yep.
And in Eastern Canada. Well, one of the things that I like is the city market. Now, have you been to Pike Place in Seattle?
Oh, yes.
Well,
many times.
Reminds me a lot of Pike Place or the Ferry Building in San Francisco, where I just was with a group. You know, the market and the shops and all of these things. So you've got the city market in St. John, New Brunswick. But one of the most exciting places is Reversing Falls.
What's that?
Well, you've got waterfalls, rapids, and whirlpools that change the direction that they flow depending upon the tide.
Oh, wow.
So when the tide is out, it flows one direction. When the tide is in, it flows another direction. Of course, national parks, Irving and Fundy National Parks, and then again, the food. Think of lobster and clams and salmon and fresh seafood. And finally, back to Halifax. Now, Halifax, Nova Scotia, you think you're in a bit of England there. I like the waterfront boardwalk, the Maritime Museum. Again, parks and outdoors and walking along the shoreline. And then, of course, food. That. So the extreme.
I'm not surprised that's at the top of your list.
Thank you very much, as I'm wiping the clam chowder from my lips right now. The Extreme Genes Canada and New England cruise. The cruise itself, September 13 to the 18th. It's a 6-day cruise. Catch this. Rates start at just $6.99. That includes the Extreme Genes seminar fee. Now, we can guarantee availability, Scott, if cabins are booked no later than Wednesday, April the 6th.
Wow.
Can you book after April the 6th? Yes, but our group space will be returned to the cruise line on April 6th, and we then sell out of general inventory. So the preferred cabins, the best location, book your cabin now with a refundable deposit.
Right.
No
Yes.
later than Wednesday, April the 6th, and join us on the Extreme Genes Canada and New England cruise.
Well, it's going to be so much fun. Get on the phone because really the deadline's right here now for guaranteed space.
Guaranteed
That's the
space
important
is
part.
April the 6th, and that's a refundable deposit, so there's nothing to lose. Hold your cabin now for the Extreme Genes cruise.
All right. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, Larry, for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
And Tom Perry is coming up next, our preservation authority. He'll be answering more of your questions from Ask Tom at tmcplace.com when we return in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Legacy Tree Genealogists is a proud sponsor of Extreme Genes. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, near the world's largest family history library, we've been working with genealogists all over the globe since 2004 to track down records, find your ancestors, and the stories that bring your legacy to life. We also analyze DNA test results, help you join lineage societies, and find missing cousins or heirs to property. Legacy Tree is the recommended research partner of MyHeritage.com and is the world's highest client-rated genealogy firm. Call us toll-free at 1-800-818-1476. Call now or register online to get a free estimate. Learn from our free genealogy tips on our blog at legacytree.com/blog. Even experienced researchers can benefit from our proven and experienced staff of specialists who can bring new approaches to old problems. Legacy Tree Genealogists. We do the research. You enjoy the discoveries. legacytree.com.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andMe.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andMe.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andMe.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andMe.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andMe.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andMe.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andMe.com.
Did you know that Family Search Family Tree is available through a powerful new mobile app experience? That's right. Now you can view, edit, and even add information to ancestors in your family tree whenever and wherever you are. You no longer need to wait to get home or make a date with your computer to view or update your family tree. You can add details to your tree when visiting with family or when capturing details from a trip to the cemetery. You can share new family history discoveries from classroom settings. You can even make the most of your time when waiting for doctor appointments or car repairs. Get started today by downloading the free Family Search Family Tree app to your Apple or Android device. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to get the Family Tree app for free. Exploring and expanding your family tree has never been more convenient. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to download the Family Search Family Tree mobile app today.
It is time to talk preservation with Tom Perry from tmcplace.com, our preservation authority. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth on America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes. And welcome back, Tom, first of all.
Good to be back.
Got a great email here from Melinda Lucas. She's actually from my mother's hometown area back in Oregon, and she's writing about all kinds of undeveloped films she's found. And this is an unbelievable list of stuff. 31 of 110 millimeter film C41, 17 of 110 millimeter film CN60. I mean, the list goes on and on. 19 instant cameras, that all seem to be 35 millimeter film. And she points out that, hey, wait a minute, Kodak doesn't exist for this kind of development anymore. What can be done? What do you say to Melinda, Tom?
Well, you should have developed your film when you shot it. But, people do that. They get all excited. They go and shoot all kinds of things, family events and whatever, and then they just take the film out and put it in a drawer, and now they've got it, but they never do anything with it. We even have people that had 8mm Super 8 film that they fortunately developed, but then they've never, ever watched it for 30 years.
Right.
And they bring it in and say, I don't even know what's on here. All I know is I found this in Grandma's drawer or whatever. And so the sad thing is, as she mentioned, Kodak is no more as far as chemistry goes. So you're out of luck that way. However, there's some different people I know that are chemists, and they make their own chemicals.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, I've got a couple of friends that actually make their own chemistry because they still like to shoot on film. So what you all need to do is, if you're in the same situation, like she mentioned that she went to Walgreens and they just kind of looked at her and pushed it back towards her off the counter.
Just step away from the desk, please,
exactly.
lady.
Crossed their fingers and said, no, we can't do anything like that. So what you want to do is email me at asktom@tmcplace.com and give me the quantity you have, what type of film it is. Like she had some 110s, she's had some 35 millimeters, and most importantly, look on the case and it'll say something like what you just mentioned, C41 processing, C16 processing, all these different kinds of processing. Because then I'll know if one of my friends has the chemistry where they can do a lot of these kinds, and so the ones that they can do, I'll have you go ahead and ship it to us. And remember what we teach you on all of our episodes, you want to always double box everything. You want to put it in a box and seal it just like it's ready to go with a label on it, but no stamps or postage. Then put that one inside another box with at least 2 inches worth of styrofoam all the way around it to keep the heat in the summer, the cold in the winter from possibly damaging your film. In fact, we had somebody just call us and wanted to send us some SD cards. Those you don't have to double box them. If you put them in a padded envelope, then put the padded envelope in a box, it'll do the same thing. So that's good too. And so organize your film. Let us know how many exposures it is. Any information you can see. It's better to have too much information, so you send us something we don't need. They go, oh, we need to call you and say, okay, particularly what was this? Was this a 24? Was it a 36? In fact, we've even had people run in that they had some old film like I used to do. I should load my own film. But unfortunately, it doesn't say on the case what it is because I knew mine was always, Tri-X or Plus X or whatever I was loading. So you might even have some kinds like that. And so we have to kind of experiment on your film to find out what it is. And hopefully, we can get it right for you. But that's about the only thing you can do.
Does this give you any hint as to when this might have been shot just by the names of these things?
Well, C41, fortunately, which is what most of her film is a pretty standard type of film. So I feel very comfortable we're going to be able to do most of it. She has a couple of them that are a little bit different, like the CN16, which is a little bit different. So what we're going to have to do is find out what works. If you see yourself in the same situation as Melinda and you have some old film that hasn't been developed, go ahead and send me what kind of film you have, what the processing is, any information on the plastic cartridge or the little aluminum can to asktom@tmcplace.com. The 8 and the Super 8 come into the same situation, so right after the break, I'll tell you how we can preserve that as well.
All right, coming up in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chartmasters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartmasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chartmasters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chartmasters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chartmasters today at FamilyChartmasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chartmasters will give the greatest care to your family history.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Havorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks.
We are back for our final segment of Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, with Tom Perry from TMCplace.com, the Preservation Authority. Fisher here, and we were just talking about Melinda in Oregon dealing with all these undeveloped rolls of film from back in the day, and now what do you do to try to get them fixed? And now, Tom, we're looking at movies, is that right? Old movie film?
Oh, right. We get a lot of that. In fact, let me tell you what to watch for. In the later years, probably more in the late 60s and the 70s, usually the Super 8 film came in these plastic cartridges that were kind of squarish, but they had rounded corners on them. If you have any of those, you can usually flip them over and there's a little window in them. And on the window, if you can see film, if it's been exposed all the way to the end, there'll be little white letters that says exposed. So you know, okay, that one's been exposed. If you see nothing in the window, it's probably been exposed and just gone all the way off the edge of the cassette, which is still fine. If it has film and it doesn't say exposed, it's either never been shot, it's been partially shot. So it's kind of up to you whether you want to take the gamble and have us try to develop it for you and see if there is something on it. So that's kind of your choice. Now, a lot of people that had it before that, they had the regular 8. They were in little teeny round cans, almost like a miniature tobacco can like they had back in the day. And they're approximately 1 inch across, and they're usually silver. Sometimes they're black. If there's black tape around the can and there's a little paper hanging out, it'll usually say unexposed. That means it's never, ever been shot. If all you see is the black tape around it or no tape around it at all, it's probably been exposed. If you measure the height of the tin, they say, oh, no, this isn't 8 millimeter because this is 16 millimeters, or about 3/4 of an inch. What we did in the old days when I was young, you'd put the film in your camera and it's in these little round reels. And so you put that in your camera, you load it, and it's actually the film you're seeing. There's no lead or anything. And then you shoot it, and then once you're done shooting it, you take that cassette off, put it back on the other end, the reel, and run it again. So that's why it's 16 millimeters wide, because you run it twice. Now, one of the problems is some people run it 3 times.
Uh-oh.
And then you get double exposure, which is sad, because some of my dad's films, some of my favorite pictures are double exposed, and there's not a heck of a lot you can do about it. But so those come in the cans, and it's just raw film. So if you see a can like this, and doesn't have any tape on it, but you can shake it and rattle something, I would suggest you don't open it. Because if you do, you could expose your film and make all the edges foggy. If you say, well, I don't know if there's film in there or something else in there, go into a totally dark room, no windows, no nothing, something in your basement. Just take it and feel it. And if it feels like film, then you know it's film. It's not some knickknacks in there. And then close it up, tape it, and then send that to us. Now, one thing with those kind of films, we have to kind of experiment because we don't know for sure what they are. But usually if they're old, what we call the double wide, the only way we can develop them is in black and white because we can't manufacture the chemistry anymore to do true color like Kodak. We can do it in black and white or nothing.
This is like the idea that we could put a man on the moon in 1969, but we couldn't today.
Exactly.
Right? This is strange.
Exactly. I know a lot of wedding videographers and even some TV commercial people and film people that still like to use the old-fashioned film. And there are some places, like there's a place in Denver that actually sells the film.
So bottom line is you can digitize this potentially.
Oh, absolutely. If you're going to go to the hassle of developing all this film, you might as well get prints at the same time. With all these things we've talked about, we have some friends that can make their own chemistry, that can develop a lot of these different things. So if you have stills like Melinda had, we can develop it, then we can make prints for you, or we can scan the negatives and send them back to you on a photo disc or email them to you however you want them. If you have the 8, the Super 8 16 that hasn't been developed, I have some friends that can do the developing.
It's kind of like I got a buddy, you know. Yeah. Thanks so much, Tom.
Glad to be here.
Address your questions to AskTom@tmcplace.com. Hey, that wraps up our show for this week. Thanks once again to Kate Eakman from LegacyTree.com for sharing with us a little tip about the SS5. Sounds like something from World War II, right? But no, it's an incredible document that can help you in your research. If you missed it, catch the podcast. Also, thanks to Larry Gelwicks, the getaway guru, who's helping us book our family history cruise out of Boston this fall. Take care. We'll talk to you again next week. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.